All right.
Hey, fans of the Miami Movie Club. Blah, blah, blah. This week, Joel made us watch the sequel to Chinatown, which we watched last week, The Two Jakes from 1990, which is number 6093 on the Franken list. I know. Why do I insist? That's like you, Joel, saying which criterion number it is.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just repeating a fact that they've done. That's all. It's
I am Frank Gaffney. With us, as always, Jake Fenster. Now there's three Jakes.
yes.
I don't care two Jakes about it. Mark Wotitz Gartner has no picture. Go fuck no cringer.
He's even over this movie already.
Ah. And Annie King, who comes to us from Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. Did you like the? Did you go on rides? We didn't do a lot of. I'm not a big roller coaster guy.
No, we did some of the shows and stuff.
Right, right. And the museum is amazing.
Yeah.
All
The
right,
little house.
Joel. I think I already answered my question, but why the two Jakes? Why the two Jakes?
Well, because it is a sequel to Chinatown,
Right.
and B, I believe it's been unfairly maligned over the when it came out. Definitely over the years, there's been a lot of reassessment about it. So
Not from us,
I wouldn't expect it from you guys.
because we're obviously not as sophisticated.
Exactly. Hey, Roger Ebert gave it 3.5 stars out of 4. So
Wow.
Okay, so
Look
here's
where he
the
is
plot.
today.
he's dead.
Dead. All right. Private investigator and war veteran now, Jake Gittes, Jack Nicholson, is hired by a real estate developer, Jake Berman, the other Jakes, that's the two jerks, Harvey, Harvey Keitel, for some run-of-the-mill matrimonial work. But then Jake Berman shoots his wife's lover, who happens to be his business partner. And then Gittes is drawn into a web of conspiracy and deceit involving oil reserves beneath Los Angeles. Before we had the water thing, now it's oil. And the third one was going to be what?
Air,
Air.
air.
Air control.
The rumors about what the third one was supposed to be about are all over the place. So
All right. But this one, instead of Roman Polanski, was directed by Jack Nicholson. He directed a few, little two, three,
3 movies. This was his third and last movie that he directed.
and I can see why. Once again, Robert Town delivers a complex and literate script, but it doesn't rise to the impossible level of Chinatown. But it does continue the story in a believable manner. It's 1948, so that's like 9 years later, 10 years later.
And
And Nicholson's Jake is older but no wiser. It's not that he's stupid; he just keeps getting sucked into these matters. Uh, but this is again with the oil instead of water, and challenging but ultimately disappointing follow-up. And neither actress, neither femmes are fatale here. Meg Tilly and Madeline Stowe are both terrible, and they're not good
Tilly
enough
was a
actors.
hell of a lot better than Madeline Stowe. Woo!
yes,
I had to look up see who it was, and I was shocked it was her.
But the
because she can
voice,
act. Yeah.
I was like, and it just wasn't the convincing patter of Barbara Stanwyck or somebody from that era. And Ruben Blades isn't much of an actor either. I'm like, what? How'd he get a movie role? And then when Harvey Keitel has his breakdown, I'm like, dude, acting 101.
Yeah.
This is terrible.
Yeah.
Okay, so and then Gittes says in one of his voiceover narrations, did we have voiceover narration in the other movie?
No.
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 You can't forget the past any more than you can change it. And maybe he should have taken his own advice and left Chinatown alone. Okay, so then I was watching the movie. So here's my observations. Lou Escobar, he got a promotion.
Yeah.
Same actor. And he only had one associate this time, Walsh, who's the same actor. But what happened to Duffy? Was he killed or something?
He died during the war. I don't know.
He died during the war.
Sure.
Well, and then I looked him up. He's Bruce Glover, who's Crispin Glover's father.
Yes.
Oh wow.
He
Oh,
was also a villain in Diamonds Are Forever.
Diamonds off revolve. And Eli Wallach in
Yes.
1990 obviously had sequelitis because he's also in The Godfather Part 3, same year.
Yeah.
And then we get to Catherine Mulray, who's the sister daughter from Chinatown. Different actress. And then Froggy shows up. Froggy. I can't take him seriously. Joel, you remember Froggy from Best of the West.
Yes, I do.
And then I cracked my. Oh no, that's
Tracy
it was
Walter.
a sitcom that was only on for a year, and the guy, what's the actor's name?
Tracy Walter.
Tracy Walter, and he's very serious here, but in the Best of the West, he was so funny. He was.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember the movie The Best of the West.
Oh, it wasn't a
I mean,
movie.
the
was
TV
serious.
show, the TV show.
Yeah.
The guy who's
I thought you were saying the name of the show was Froggy.
No, his
Oh, I
he was
know.
Froggy.
I
He
even
was
remember the theme song.
yeah.
Oh my goodness!
Joel,
I have it on DVD. It's still a
You want
funny
to take
show.
it now?
His name was Best of the West, right, Joel? Something like that.
Yep. Joel Higgins, who went on
Yeah.
to play the father in Silver Spoons.
Yes.
Right. So and
And his
so,
last name was Best.
and Tracy Walter's character was Froggy.
Ah, okay.
Very funny. But every time Jack Nicholson said this, all I could think was "I Love Lucy." Tell you what I'm gonna do. All I could do. Okay. And when he lit the cigarette and that explosion flipped him over, I think it should have done a little more damage.
You think?
I'm
His
good.
hand was right on top of the. Oh God! Don't
Never
get
mind
me
his
on.
hand, his
Literally, the
ass.
ass started
Everything. No, I
over.
know, but nothing.
He got lucky.
Yeah.
He didn't want to have bandages again.
I thought that too. I was like, here come the bandages. Oh no, he doesn't even have them.
Yeah.
Nothing.
But
Nothing.
now he was Jack Nicholson.
Now he's Superman. And then, did Faye Dunaway record that voiceover? I
She
guess
did. That's what she gets special thanks in the
Yes,
edit.
that's what we thought. Yeah.
that was nice of her.
Yeah.
And James Hong is back, got a little bigger role this time. And then it got a little awkward for me when he was with one of the women. I don't remember which one. He's like, "Get on your knees, keep your ass in the air." What's this?
That was Madeline Stowe.
Madeline Stowe? I was like, that's a little awkward
It was
for him.
awful.
And then with the urine and suck it with the guy with the gun, suck it, and he peed himself. I'm like, oh God, that's awkward too. And then Harvey Keitel trying to be Jewish is just laughable.
He is
Dude.
Jewish.
Dude, no, he's not.
Harvey Keitel?
He's not Jewish.
Keitel sounds pretty Jewish.
I don't know if
Harvey-
he is or not, but he was a
All
terrible.
right, let's look it up.
He's
Harvey
gotta
Keitel
be.
is Jewish.
He did a terrible Jew.
There was a lot of Jewishness in this movie. I heard somebody say fakakta. At
All
least
right,
three
so-
Jews.
But here's a funny story I read on the interwebs. When the film was released, there was a theater in Florida
He
where
is Jewish.
he's a terrible Jewish person. He can't do Jewish. I could do Jewish better.
The very
Hi.
first trivia bit, it was great. Go ahead.
Is that what I'm saying? Or
Yeah.
what you okay. So they were showing the movie in Florida. A patron was watching it, left his seat to tell the theater manager that the reels of the movie were running out of order.
Yep.
And the manager went to check. He was confused and he confirmed, yep, they're out of order. And then he said, the movie's been playing here for 3 weeks and you're the first one to even notice that.
I'm actually shocked the movie had been playing for 3 weeks in a Florida theater more
Yeah.
than the things were out of order. But
Right. Well, we had multiplexes in 1990, didn't we?
yeah, but the movie did so horribly. It came and went very fast. So
All right. I'm giving it 2.5 stars. I'm okay with they made a sequel, I guess, but somebody else should have directed it. It could have been better for me, for sure. Okay, now who had already seen the movie before? Nobody, right? Except for Joel. All right, so let's start with Annie. Maybe she wants to go and do something fun today.
Yeah, I felt like it was like a rehash basically, and not as good. He didn't look as cool as he did 10 years ago.
16 years ago.
16 years.
16 years ago, yeah, definitely. And changed the water for oil and basically almost a twisty plot line kind of thing, but felt long. And like you said, the again, the sex scene just didn't seem necessary to me. I can't really remember because it was
A week
5 days ago that I watched the movie.
That's why I take notes.
Yeah, I can't take notes when it's a first time movie, especially. I just have to sit and watch it. But I definitely,
This is me taking notes. I'm writing. I'm never take my hand off the paper.
wow.
Hmm.
Oh, those are like my economics notes in college, and they'd be running down the page. And
Exactly. That's how
right.
it happened.
So, yeah, I didn't like it as much as the first one. So I have to go with a 2.5.
Mark, no picture. Gardner.
2.5. Let's start off right there.
All right,
I think that's going to be the consensus here. It was a bit too convoluted and confusing for me. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. Although the name, the two Jakes, that's just, I don't know, sloppy. I like the cast, and yeah, Eli Wallach. We also watched the Holiday this past year, and he was absolutely adorable in that. And then he was in Godfather 3, so he keeps popping up. I like that guy. But again, with the similar names, I had a problem last week, if you recall, with Mulray and Mulvihill. Now we've got Bodine and Berman. I mean, I know they're a little bit more different, but I was like, and then you talk about Mrs. Berman, I was like, which one is which? It was a little confusing. Again, something that if you had seen it 2 or 3 times, you'd be fine. But first time, on top of all the other shit, it was like, what's going on? Um, the part with Madeline Stowe, right before the sex scene, her tackling Jake while screaming, while they're listening to The Wire and screaming, "Don't let me hear it," and tackling him away from the machine was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen, and it was just executed very poorly. As I forget who said it, Madeline Stowe was just horrible, horrible, horrible in that. Um,
Shows that he doesn't know how to direct actors.
yeah,
Yeah.
sure, yeah, because I've seen her a bunch of other
Yeah.
things. She's absolutely fine. The
Yeah,
judge
and you know,
was also a horrible actor. The judge speaking, it was like he was reading lines. I mean, I was like, I could do better than that. I can't do shit. I definitely needed a wiki plot synopsis for an assist. But it was nice to see David Keith, who I'm a fan of, and I do believe that David Keith and Keith David should have a buddy cop TV show.
Yeah.
And each of them should be named David and Keith, but the wrong one. So
Right.
that's it for me.
aim, torture.
Yeah. I started watching this movie last Sunday at 12 and I finished at 5. I just couldn't. I was like,
yesterday.
What?
Yeah.
5 yesterday.
Yesterday.
I guess.
We have to have a monologue while staring at Giddis's shoes. How very film noir, Jack. Right from the beginning, I was like, I'm going to hate this movie with the fucking shoes. When Jake tells the old guy, who is Berman's lawyer, I don't remember, I didn't know names at the time, that Bodine mentioned Catherine on the recording, the lawyer was half lit and half in the dark. And I was thinking, oh, is he in on this? And he also asked Jake what Bodine said about Catherine because he's curious or because he's in on it. So I was kind of digging that. No real comment about it though. And once I heard Catherine and Kitty, I thought this is going to turn out to be the same person.
I did not see that coming at all.
Really?
A mile away.
Yeah. Only because of the names.
Okay.
When Jake is playing the recording to Bodine's widow, oh my God, Mark, she starts screaming and doing the old-timey punching thing, saying, "Oh, don't let me hear anymore. Don't let me hear anymore," while literally stopping him from stopping the recorder.
Thank you. Yes.
Don't let me hear anymore. Let me pull you away from it. And then while doing her horrible, over-the-top, horrible acting and running towards the door, he actually accidentally pulled her skirt off and they started making out. Oh my fucking God.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous.
Danielle was downstairs while I was up here watching it, and she heard me scream at the TV.
And what in the actual fuck is with the notary having teeth like Jaws in The Spy Who Loved Me? I mean, that was just brutal.
He had his jaw broken.
I know, but that's what they had to pick to do to make us sit and look at this guy talking like this. It was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
So I fucking hated this movie. I'm giving it 2 stars.
Imagine if he really hated it.
I know. I mean, it was no Metropolis or whatever that one was.
Oh, I like that
Yeah,
one.
Maybe it wasn't
we could
Metropolis.
look at the spreadsheet and see what your
Yeah,
lowest
yeah.
film was.
Mystery Men, I believe, was the lowest rated.
Oh,
Just that
So,
first trailer is actually pretty fun.
so I don't feel you need to defend yourself. I mean,
I'm not going to defend myself. You have no idea what I'm going to say about the movie.
I know, but I remember I watched this actually a few years ago because you were saying it actually should have a better rep than it does. So go ahead.
Go ahead, defend yourself. Uh,
I
look,
mean, I get it. I totally get it. And I said this last week. You definitely are. You definitely have sequelitis.
well, if there's going to be a sequel to something,
You
and
want to see it,
something that
and
I
I
like
think
a lot, I want to see it. Um,
yes, but I also think you give it the benefit of the doubt because you're happy it got made in the first place.
well, the movie took a long time to get made. It's not like, this.
They should have waited a little longer.
Well, no, they should have got it done when they originally were going to, but there
Right,
was a big fight that went on between Nicholson and Town and Robert Evans. So,
right. And
um,
who was attached to direct it at the beginning?
so originally, when it was going to be made in the 80s, it was Robert Town was both writing and directing,
Oh my
and
God!
Robert
Yeah,
Evans was going to play Jake Berman.
right, yes, that would have been
And
a bigger
they
disaster than this.
it might have been, and Robert Town though put his foot down, and that's part of what happened is he didn't want Evans to play Berman for a
Yeah,
variety of reasons.
I'm
because he
sorry,
got a
who's Evans? Who's that?
Robert Evans was the producer of Chinatown.
yeah,
He's the one who shepherded it through Paramount Studios.
and he was the head of Paramount for a
Yeah.
while.
Yep. So, and he was an actor back in the 50s and 60s, I think.
Yeah, but
Um,
not a good
no, okay. I think the biggest problem you have going into this is you don't have Roman Polanski. You don't have a director who has style, not a
one. Right.
style, but any sort of style or imagination who can really finesse material and make it
And a
look,
vision for the
yeah,
piece.
make it
Yeah,
look amazing.
yeah,
They were never going to get Polanski back unless they shot it in Europe, which wasn't
right.
going to happen because they needed to shoot it in LA. So, Nicholson is a very workmanlike director. He's not the worst director on the planet, but he certainly isn't the best director on the planet. Out of the three films he's done, his best film is probably Going West, which is a funny Western that's definitely worth a watch if you've never seen it.
I
Um,
believe it's called Going South.
South, you're right. Sorry. It's early on a Sunday.
Amy's going west.
Amy's going west.
Goes south.
He went south. Correct. Sorry. Um, and it was never going to be Chinatown, regardless of anything that came together and the iterations of things that went on to try and get the movie made. At one point, they talked about when the movie fell apart right after Town and Evans and Nicholson had their falling out. Paramount still wanted to save the movie. They thought about recasting Nicholson with Harrison Ford, which would have been terrible. Maybe, I don't know. It's one of those things. But I think the film, as it stands, is not a bad film by any stretch of the imagination, and it's a decent sequel to Chinatown that just never was going to be like the original. It couldn't be. When I saw it in theaters, there was a lot about it that I really liked and a lot about it that I didn't. Most of what I didn't like about it, you've mentioned. Madeline Stowe as Mrs. Bodine is, whew, it's hard, and that sex scene in his office is just out of place and all over the place at the same time.
I mean, obviously today with our hashtag Me Too,
Right.
it's out of place. But I think it was even out of place in 1990.
Oh, I agree. It didn't work for me back then. It certainly doesn't work now.
That's because Jack Nicholson is a pervert.
Well,
Look at the whole Postman Always Rings Twice.
sure.
You had to have sex on the kitchen table with flour and stuff. I'm like, Jack, calm down. You need to go to your bedroom.
It's it's unfortunate that we got what we got, and it didn't live up to the legacy that it probably couldn't have. And I think it's also unfortunate that we never got the closing bit of the trilogy that Robert Towne wanted to do. Because I think there's probably an interesting story in there. I think Towne's script was never the problem. I think it's Jack Nicholson's rewrite of it, because Towne was gone. All that voiceover narration was added after the fact. None of it's in Towne's script.
See, but then the voiceover didn't bother me at all.
No, it doesn't bother me.
I hated it, and I thought he did a terrible job acting it.
It doesn't bother me. I think there are some great one-liners in there that work for the film, but on the whole, it's a hackneyed plot device that I don't necessarily felt
But
raised.
it's not out of character for a film noir. I mean,
No, it's not. But
Not
it's
at all.
that,
I just didn't think this was a good
Sure.
one. It maybe slightly helped us understand the story from zero understanding to 10,
Sure.
but his acting was terrible in it.
Well, and at this point in his career, Nicholson is he's past The Shining and he's past Batman, so he's in that parody phase of his own acting ability. He tones it down a little bit here, but not by too much. So
That's why he brought that guy Tracy Walter in, right? Wasn't he Bob the Goon?
Yeah, Bob the Goon.
The year before, yeah.
I didn't think he was parody-ish at all. I thought he was
Yeah, I
fine, except
was
for the
fine with it.
narration. I thought he was fine.
but definitely a better screenwriter would have had better quips for him to
Mhm.
say.
Sure, but again, it wasn't. This isn't Robert Towne's script.
Yeah.
The way he wrote it, it's been doctored, so it's probably like 80% Towne's script instead of 100%. So, I think it's a. I'm trying to think of how to put this. It's an interestingly flawed movie that does not deserve the horrible rep it has. I think, as I sent you guys that article about somebody writing that is a better film than Chinatown, I think the guy brings up some interesting points, but I think he's way off base in his argument.
Assessment.
Yeah, and I think Roger Ebert is a little too generous with his 3.5 out of 4 stars. So I'm going to give it 3 stars. I've seen it a few times. At the end of the day, I don't think the storyline is any more confusing than Chinatown. I think it's an interesting storyline that works well in and of itself. But there is some questionable acting, some odd screenwriting choices after the fact, and the movie itself just doesn't have the glitz and glamour that you find in Chinatown, because you don't have Polanski involved. So
Right. And even though we went from the 30s to the 40s, there's still a sound that should have been there.
Yeah.
Of the, that horn or whatever.
Yeah.
This was actually my second time seeing it since I watched it a couple of years ago. And it honestly, I knew what was going to happen, and it didn't get any better for me. So, all right.
And I think it was infinitely more confusing than Chinatown.
I had the Yellens watching it. They had not seen it. Sue had seen Chinatown a couple of times before. David only seen Chinatown for the first time last week when we watched it. And they were pretty easily, followed what was going on. They had a couple of minor questions, and it was very
Well, maybe it was because it took me 5 hours because I kept stopping, walking
Well,
away.
yeah,
That
that's
might not have
definitely
helped me at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
All right. Well, the Two Jakes is available on Canopy. Now, what is Canopy? You say? I will tell you what Canopy is: a streaming service that could be available from your library. There's 2 of them. One is called Canopy, and one is called Hoopla. So if your library has that, you can stream movies for free from the library.
I think the Hudsucker proxy is permanently on Hoopla.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
The circle.
The hula hoop. I
No,
didn't
the
create
hula
all this
hoopla.
hoopla. So
No, that's on Hulu Hoopla.
hula hoop
For kids.
for kids.
All right. If you,
Right.
or you can rent it if you feel you really need to be a completist like Joel.
I just want to make one more quick comment about the stupidity of Paramount in regards to the video releases of these films, because
okay.
the when the Two Jakes was released on DVD years ago, it had an interview with Jack Nicholson on it, which did not make the transfer to when they put it out on Blu-ray. And they recently, just last year, put out a 4K edition of Chinatown. But usually Paramount's what?
The Two Jakes as a bonus.
That was the problem, is that the Two Jakes is the bonus disc, but it's really just, oh shit, we have all these Blu-rays sitting around. What are we going to do with them? And they just literally threw the Blu-ray discs into those packages. They had, yeah. So now you have another company that licensed it that's putting out a 4K version of the Two Jakes this year. I was like, that's just stupid.
With all the background.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right. So next week, Mark picked Enemy Mine from Enemy Mine
Right.
from 1985. It's not available on any subscription service.
Thanks, Disney.
Rent it from Prime. This was actually one of the very first movies I worked on when I got my job at Fox.
Okay.
Or you can borrow the DVD or email me. I'm Frank Gaffney. Go see a movie.
And also with you.